Hello, brothers and sisters. I want to describe to you an experience, or actually a few experiences I had. This was not a dream, not a vision. This was something that I had to live through, and it came from a time where I was doing a lot of drugs. I was partying a lot, and I was hanging out with a lot of the wrong people. Um, it was very prevalent in the hippie community, actually. And it's the only thing I can describe it as is the Antichrist. It was the Antichrist spirit. Well, I'd say back in 2010, 2011, excuse me, sorry. I was dating a girl, and she lived in a trap house. It was basically what they called it. It was a place where you went and you bought drugs, and where a lot of different drugs were sold. Well, I was dating this girl for a couple of months, and I was just purely enjoying myself. That's all it was about. I was rebelling from God. I wasn't listening to Him, and I had gotten so far out there on drugs and everything that one night we were. Like I said, I was extremely intoxicated, and I had done just a little bit too much, and I had entered a state of paralysis, and these people who were around me, it had felt like they were trying to suck my soul out of my body. They were going through things, and they were showing me things like they were able to read my mind, and they, in fact, I highly believe that they were reading my mind. Either that, or the power of suggestion was extremely high, and I was very susceptible to it at that moment. But like I said, I was sitting in a bed, and I couldn't move. And I was able to move just a little bit, like my arms and stuff. And I tried reaching for a computer or my phone to try to reach out to somebody after I realized what was going on. And all the electronics were shut off. It was like they were shut off spiritually. It wasn't because they weren't charged or anything like that, because they were just working fine. And while I was sitting there in paralysis, and I felt such a tension in my chest. It was such a tension in my chest, and from my back, it almost felt like an energy tunnel, kind of like going from my front to my back, and it was kind of just going through me, and it felt like they were trying to suck my soul out. And I remember pleading to him, I'd do anything, just let me go. This is horrible. I don't know what you're doing. And at one point, they were able to shut down my train of communication. I wasn't able to speak anymore. I wasn't able to talk. And I remember thinking, this is it. This is it. This is what my life has led to. This is it. I was thrown in the towel. And then something in me had risen. And I was able to think again, because I wasn't able to think. Like it was like I wasn't able to consciously think about what I wanted to think about, or talk about what I wanted to talk about, or scream out for help. I couldn't do anything. I'm even having trouble speaking about it right now. But the one thing that got me out of all that was me meditating on Jesus' name. And I remember doing that, and this was like the first time I've actually reached out to Jesus with my heart and my mind and my soul. This was the first time. I went to church and church camp when I was younger, but it was nothing like this. This was me in my last attempt of my life. And I reached out for Jesus, and it was just in my mind because I couldn't speak, I couldn't move, I couldn't do anything. And the moment I did that, they all got really upset. And I'm talking about, 8 to 10 people. And there was even 3 pit bulls in the room with me. And they were laying down on their backs, ass to nose, or butt to nose, I'm sorry about the language, guys. Butt to nose in a triangle, right in front of me. And the room was filled with flies. I mean, there's flies everywhere. And some would say that this was, drugs. This was, just things that I was seeing through hallucinations. But this is extremely real. And when I did, in my mind, meditate on Jesus, they all got extremely upset. And they had, from what I understood, what I could hear, is most of them had left the house at that moment. There was a few that were able to stay behind, and I'm not sure why that was, but they seemed as kind of confused as I was, a little bit, but it seemed like they were also in on it. So I was a little bit, I didn't quite understand that. But after I meditated on his name, I was able to speak his name. He gave me the ability to speak, and once I started saying his name, then the remainder of them had left, except for one, and that was my girlfriend at that time. And they had all left the house, so like I said, this is 8 to 10 people, and most of them were living there. So, and the weird thing is that, everything in the house was moved out of the house as well. Like they had completely vacated the house. Now, this was my first real experience with Jesus. This was my first experience with his saving light. I had to go through, weeks and weeks of, getting myself back to normal. I mean, years and years. But, weeks and weeks and weeks and months until I could actually function again and, go out and get a job and talk to other people, and it took a lot for me not to go to, a psychiatry ward or anything like that, a doctor about all this, because once you talk about this kind of stuff, you're a kook. You're labeled as a kook, that is, but this is very real. And I want people to understand that there is power in his name. What I understood after that was there are other tools that he gave us, and I had described them in a previous video. And these are the tools of spiritual warfare. The armor of God and your sword, which is his word. So I just wanted to explain to you guys, I know times are tough right now, and I know you guys are going through a lot. And that is because this thing I was experiencing, 8 years ago, 7 years ago, is everywhere now. It is now everywhere. And I have a feeling that God put me through that experience not only to prepare myself, to prepare me, his child, one that he loves, but to get this out to you guys as well. Because Jesus loves you very much. He loves you very much. And you need to understand that we're going to have to stay in spiritual warfare, especially in these times. we have to stay in spiritual warfare. It's very important. I love you guys. God bless.